Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad, and to my right, or possibly your left, we have Benjamin B.
It's been a while, Tom.
It sure has been a while, and let me kind of explain why. Ben and I, as you may or may not know, are an integral part in a treatment center here in South Florida called Rock Recovery Center. And needless to say, we've been busy. And we had to take some time off. Our last episode that we uploaded was December 9th of 2021. So it's been a while. And, we've taken some time to really kind of evaluate where things are in terms of the business here at Rock and kind of what we want to do with the podcast and stuff like that. And we've really kind of come to the idea that we want to do more video and we want to be more specific to, everything addiction, still everything kind of in that realm, but we want to have more of an emphasis on fitness and nutrition and the things that are more tangible, I suppose would be the right way to put it.
Recovery is a lifestyle. There's just so much more that goes into it. Going back to, we took a little break, part of that too, Tom, we were having a little discussion before we got started, evaluating some of the stuff that slowed us down. And, Tom mentioned that we did make the choice to go more video stuff, do the YouTube, but a lot of it too had to do with some personal evaluation as well. Both of us had a lot going on, a lot in our personal lives, a lot going on with Rock. For myself, one of the suggestions I kept getting from other people is to make time for myself. I must have been asked by 1,000 people, Ben, what have you done for yourself today? And don't get me wrong, I live a healthy lifestyle. I do a lot of things for myself, but recovery being a lifestyle for myself, I get so enveloped in it that some of the other stuff starts to slip. I March 31st, adopted a little boy, Kai, on his 4th birthday. That was a lot going on, a lot of paperwork, dealing with the courts, jumping back and forth with the Department of Children and Families, and also with the recovery aspect and work, my own personal recovery, going to meetings, seeing sponsees, doing service work at those meetings, etc. Needed to pump the brakes a little bit, refresh the mind. I think it's really important. I was getting that suggestion from a lot of people. It did affect us recording, so to speak. But a lot of that stuff for me, I'll just share this too. Started going to counseling myself. I won't go into too much detail on that. It's actually marriage counseling. Things are going well, don't get me wrong. But can I just throw you out there, Tom? You do it too, and you've been doing it for years. And it's been a big part of, from what Tom shares with me on a daily basis, a part of your marriage for how many years?
We've been going to counseling for probably consistently 4 years, I would say.
So not that things have to be going bad in any sort of way, but, just taking the time to kind of reevaluate for me, my own personal life and some of my lifestyle, and that you can always get healthier and always do better.
Yeah, a lot of times people think that, Ben and Tom, they got it all together. Look at them, all this sobriety time, so on and so forth. Granted, we have managed to stay sober, of course, but, life hits us, and there are things that we need to tend to that are, let's just be honest, of more importance. And the podcast for us that was and continues to be very important, but rest assured it's been on my mind, and I know it's been on yours for months at this point of, we got to get this back going, but we got to do it on our time. We don't want to, towards the end there, it felt like we were kind of forcing stuff out. We were just putting stuff out to get another episode uploaded that week. And it kind of lost its meaning behind it for us on a personal level. And if it doesn't mean a lot to us, we're not going to put our best efforts into it. And we don't want to do that. I don't like doing that in my personal life. And I surely don't want to do it for you as the listener, because I don't think it's fair. So that's kind of what we've been what's been going on in our lives. And don't get me wrong, a lot of growth has came from everything that we've gone through. The business is going good. We're getting a lot of people sober on a daily basis. We've had numerous clients graduate on through our program that are successful now, employed, that are able to manage their money, that have built relationships back with their loved ones, and everything is going good on that part. It was just some life stuff, you know?
Well, that I'll touch on too, since you brought up rock. We put a lot of focus too. It's really important for us to take care of the people that are right in front of us as well, kind of like you're saying. In the since December, I forget exactly when we started, but it's about that time frame we started doing more of a family program here. And a lot of time and effort went into organizing that, both operationally, on the clinical level, all that stuff. Getting way more family involvement, and being excited about what we do as well. For myself, I play an integral part of, really emphasizing the fitness side of this, and kind of reevaluated some of our schedule and putting it more into the group stuff, and getting people working out prior to groups more often, because the schedule was kind of falling apart a little bit. Not falling apart, but we were becoming more inconsistent, just like with the podcast, like what Tom was saying, and I think it's really important that we took the time to focus on the people that are right in front of us. We got all that in line. Sometimes you have to take a step back, evaluate what's going on, because for us, Rock's been up and running, 9 years now? 2013?
Yeah. Yep.
And there comes points in time where we're like, all right, it's full steam ahead, and this thing's just on autopilot. Well, when it gets on autopilot, what I realized for us is we get comfortable, and we're like, things are good. But you know how they talk about in recovery, progress, not perfection. Well, I like that word progress, and emphasis there, where we can always do better. And when things are going on autopilot, that's a really good time to step back and evaluate and look at the things. Well, that's good, but could it be great? And sitting back and breaking that stuff down, figuring out where we can get stronger as a program, as individuals, because we want to be an inspiration to other people as well. And like Tom was saying, we're not perfect. People look at us like we got it all together. In fact, I was sitting in group today, and one of the clients kind of looked at me and said, one day I want to be where you're at. And he was making kind of a comparison, saying, you're up here and I'm down here. I'm like, well, I had to remind him after that, well, that's not quite accurate, dude. I'm one thought away from a drink or a drug, just like every single person sitting here. You can't put people up on a pedestal. It's a daily reprieve, if you will.
The one thing I think that would be good to discuss for a minute in this is what you just said. When things become more autopilot, it's easy to kind of sit back and relax. And complacency is something that, so to tie this kind of into the recovery aspect of it, yes, it's a good opportunity to evaluate and see, okay, well, if things are this good and I'm kind of complacent and I'm resting, how good could things be if I actually put forth more effort? You could tie that in the opposite direction of, and we see this a lot of times with people when they get sober and they get to that point of sobriety has kind of become easy, complacency sets in. And when complacency sets in, it's easy to let up on the things that matter most. And again, it is something that we have to keep an eye on. And a good example of that, or something tangible, is, when you see people, they get sober, they're in their first 90 days, they're hitting a meeting a day. Well, we get to that point where we're not necessarily thinking about drinking and drugging anymore. And we get this mindset of, well, this has kind of gotten pretty easy. Maybe I don't need to go to all these meetings anymore. Maybe I don't need to reach out to a newcomer. Maybe I don't need to talk to my sponsor. Maybe I don't need to work out as much. Maybe I don't need to eat as good as I was. And we can get to that point where we just start relaxing. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I do think that it is very important to be able to recognize that. And if that is something that is happening for you, you have to be able to pick up on it and adjust.
Well, through our experiences, and you could tie this into recovery, through experiences, we change. And oftentimes, I'm a really big believer that we need new experiences. I'll tie it into, for instance, my own personal 12-step program. You know, one of the suggestions that I give out pretty often, and I'm not saying to hop around because I also don't recommend that, but what I'm saying is, you know, for instance, I've changed my home group several times over the last few years. For about the first 8 years of my recovery, I had the same home group Sunday night, 8:30 Oasis. I was there every single Sunday. I ended up moving, which kind of sparked this, where I moved to a different area, so I found a clubhouse that was closer to me, easier for me to get to logistically with the kids and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is cool, man. I was forced into finding a new home group, so to speak, and I had a new experience. And I'm like, maybe I needed to change the people I was around. Not that the people I was around were bad, but same place, same message all the time, same people, not as much turnover. It was very consistent. And in switching home groups, I'm around a whole bunch of new guys. I'm hearing new things. And if they're not new as far as the concept, it's a new way of hearing it, a new way of saying it, a new way of interpreting it. And that's where growth comes in. And I've actually done that a couple times in the last couple of years. I've changed my whole group. You know, I'll stick it out for a year, 2 years, and then switch again. You know, and I think that's been very helpful in my recovery, switching up the meetings I'm going to. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you do want to find consistency. Like, I always recommend to our clients, so you could take it from one extreme to the other. I don't want to see clients, like, play whack-a-mole with their meetings and just go to the 8 a.m. meeting this Monday, then go to the next Monday or at the 12 p.m., and then the next one, the 5:30, like, because you want to have consistency where you get to build a base and a community. But point is, I was using that as an example, but we need new experiences because we change as people over time.
Yeah, as our sobriety kind of enhances, and I talk a lot about with our clients, what is it that we aspire to do? Sobriety is a given for the most part. Like, when you get sober and you kind of buy into this whole sobriety lifestyle, and you know, the promises start happening and we become more comfortable in our sobriety, stuff like that, there does come a point in time where we have to kind of think big, you know, think more on a macro level. What is it that I want for myself as a productive member of society, as a human on this planet? What do I want to do with my life now that I got my life back? And so I try and explain that to our clients, because it's easy for people, especially in the treatment process, to get complacent. It's a lot of times, it's like Groundhog's Day. Wake up, you know where you have to be. I have to be at group from 9:30 to 12:30, Monday through Friday. And then 5:30 to 8:30 a few nights a week. And I'm going to this meeting and I'm going to that meeting. And I know that we're getting transported to the gym at this time, so everything is kind of done for you. But as you transition through that process, you become more independent and you start to gain more traction in terms of you get more say over your life and what you want to do with it. But through the treatment process, we have some clients that just hit the ground running and they are full steam ahead and they know what they want to do and they go and get it. And then we have some that are the exact opposite, that they go through the treatment process. Towards the end, they're so complacent that it's actually a challenge for us to get them to go out and get that job that is just, you know, a basic job, to get them to think more long term. What do you want to do with yourself? What do you want to do with your life? Where do you envision yourself 5 years from now? And I think a lot of times people, because they hear inside of like the rooms of AA and the therapeutic process, there's this famous saying, you have 1 foot in tomorrow, 1 foot in yesterday, while you're pissing all over today. I agree with that statement in a sense, because they, you know, as sober people, we want to try and stay in the moment. There is a deep kind of meaning behind that. But some people take it to the extremes and almost use it as a crutch. Well, the program of AA tells me not to project into the future. And it also tells me to not so much focus on my past. So I need to stay present. Yeah, I suppose I get that. Yeah. But what do you want to do with yourself? What do you want to do with your life? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to buy that car that you always wanted? Do you want to get that education that you wanted? So in complacency and rest and just staleness is what ultimately can lead people back to the drink and the drug.
I like that you touched on things getting stale. A lot of times I need to be re-inspired. And one of the things we do with our clients as well, and I'll use an example, we need to find inspiration. And this kind of ties back to us kind of falling off with the podcast. I feel like this sums up. We needed to be re-inspired. For instance, I was at a point where we kind of fell off doing it over the last year. I'll throw it out there since we're throwing out personal stuff. You know, I've been having some health issues where I've been getting these dizzy spells and really blurry vision. In fact, I had one yesterday and, you know, had CAT scan done, MRI, been to the hospital twice, you know, spent a couple days in there. I still can't figure out what's going on. These things keep happening. But, you know, taking the time and break to do that. But what happened when that happened is a couple things. You know, for me, I've always loved working out. I've always loved the gym. It became routine for me. I was going in there and doing it, but I wasn't loving it anymore. I would never stop doing it because I would say I'm kind of to the point where I was addicted to it. No matter what, I would go 2 to 3 times a week. But the thing is even recently, us taking this break, like me having this health stuff going on, you know, for the last few months, over the last 6 months, I think I've lost 25 pounds. You know, started eating really clean again. And really, you know, at the time I was coaching football and a lot of my time I started focusing a little bit more on me, you know, doing my best not to be selfish. But right now, like, I'm loving the gym again. I'm to the point where I need to like tell myself, okay, Ben, you can't work out 7 days in a row. Can't work out twice a day because you can take that stuff to extremes. But a lot of times we need to be re-inspired and find that passion again. And one of the things I do with our clients is, was there something prior to your drug addiction that you were inspired to do or you love to do that got taken away? How do we find that again? And also, how do we add new things back in? A lot of times it doesn't have to be something brand new. It just has to be refreshed, if you will.
Yeah, well, and I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I was gung-ho for the gym for a while, and I don't want nothing to do with it right now. I don't know what's going on with me, but something's off. It's like I know the best thing for me to do is just to go into the gym. It's only, you know, even if I just took 20 minutes and did some squats and some whatevers, and I know full well what to do and how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, I just can't do it.
Well, let's diagnose this and break this down now. Tom and I know each other really well, and I know when Tom does well with things and excels, and this is why it's so important to have relationships like we do, you know, and have sober support community and people that can look. One thing that I know about Tom does very well when he has deadlines and specific goals and dates. For instance, he just mentioned the gym. One thing I know about Tom, if he were to enter a powerlifting contest today that he knows is going to happen in 4 months, he'd get a program from Alex Uslar down at
what
Ghost
up, Alex?
Gym.
Yo.
Yeah, shout out down at Ghost Gym in Miami. He'd get a program from him, and Tom would be like, in 4 months, I got this competition, this powerlifting contest. I am on it. Before this meet comes, I'm going to be out there every single day following this program. Tom needs deadlines. I know that about him. I keep telling him, hey, sign up for something. So that's all we got to do for you is get you signed up for something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something to that. And, you know, progress, not perfection. We said that in the beginning. So I am going to get there. But again, transparency, that's something that I've been struggling with. But I have lost a significant amount of weight over the past probably 5-6 months, but probably not from just not working out, you know, and just kind of like lost all my muscle. And I kind of look like a melted candle of sorts right now. But anyways, So that is something that I'm going to get back into doing here probably in the next couple of years, I would imagine. Um, anyways, no, but it does feel good to be back recording, and we're gonna get more involved in having our clients back on the podcasts, because we want you to also hear from their perspective and their journey what it has been like getting sober, whether it's for the first time or the fifth time. Everybody's perspective kind of changes each time they go through, and we want to have you more engaged in that. And obviously they need to approve of it, especially if it's going to be in a video format. Some will be video, some will be just strictly audio, because some clients don't want to be on camera. Me personally, I love being on camera. I love looking at myself for whatever reason. I don't know, but I have no camera shyness at all. So yeah, I mean, it just feels good to be back. It's something that Ben and I have been talking about, like we said before, for months at this point. And, we're coming up with new things, different topics of discussion. Like, we want to have a heavier emphasis on the tangible things that we can do for our sobriety. There's a lot of emotional components, of course. There's a lot of spiritual components of sobriety, but there's also a lot of physical components as well that I think we need to have a heavier emphasis on, because I think those are a lot of times the lowest barrier of entry for people, whether it's just starting to incorporate a few 10-minute walks throughout the day, cutting out some of the soda that you're drinking, stuff like that, and really kind of honing in on a lot of the different components of sobriety and being more specific around those.
Yeah, for me, it ties into, I think a lot of our past podcasts had to do with getting sober, how to get started, how to find a treatment center, what detox looks like. Go on and on. You can go through our podcast and see all the 199 episodes before this and see it's a lot of it's like an introduction to recovery. How do I do this thing? But I've noticed for myself, for instance, I'm not don't have a huge following on Facebook or anything, but my own personal Facebook profile, I've noticed the people that follow me, a lot of them actually have years of sobriety, so a lot of them like to see a lot lately. I've been posting up my meals and what I eat throughout the day, when I'm hitting my cardio, stuff like that, off to a meeting, and I've been getting feedback and messages. People like seeing that stuff because we also have to maintain this sobriety. Once you go through treatment, you've moved out. Those are a lot of the people that I'm in touch with on Facebook. And it going back, I keep using the word lifestyle. This is going to be a lifelong journey, and I think maybe for me a little bit more emphasis on what that looks like when you're 5-10 years sober. There's so much more to it, and keeping it.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. And I think it is inspiring when you see somebody, especially for Ben. He has a lot of people that look up to him and kind of can envision themselves in his sobriety journey, which I think is admirable, and he has a lot to offer people when it comes to those sorts of things. If anybody followed my meal plan, well, good luck, because you're probably going to put on a few LBs, I suppose. But I've lost weight, so I'm just eating the same things, just not near as much.
Portion control.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. And this has been, in fact, this is our 200th episode, and kind of ironically, let's just call it the rebirthing, I suppose. Episode 200, the rebirthing of Real Recovery Talk, featuring Ben and Tom. Tom and Ben. Ben and B&T?
I have no idea. What are some other radio shows that have similar sound?
I don't know.
Isn't there
Isn't
there a Tom and something out there?
It's the Bob and Tom show.
Oh, Bob and Tom show.
Yeah. Anyways. Glad that you guys have all stuck with us on this journey. We still get emails from you, still get, comments on the YouTube videos that come out. Share this with whoever you can. Leave us a review. Leave us some comments on different topics that you, in fact, would want to hear about and stuff like that.
Let me throw this out there just to emphasize this too. I'm not saying that if you're new and you're just finding us now, because a lot of the people that I follow, on YouTube, on podcasts, they've been doing it for years. go back through those 199 episodes. There's a lot of good stuff there. We touch on, I mean, going back to what Tom was saying, in a way, we were kind of running out. We're like, what are we going to talk about today? You know, and we were really fishing for it. Where now this just feels more organic for us, hence the rebirth, if you will. Like, we're going to talk a little bit more about different things, the lifestyle that I keep mentioning, you know, but go back through that old stuff. There'll be a lot of stuff that resonates there too.
If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that people resonate with story more than anything. You know, yes, in the beginning and even today, we are a lot about education and teaching people kind of the fundamentals of sobriety, not only from an addict standpoint, but also from a family dynamic standpoint. There's a lot of education and stuff that has to go into that. But people resonate most with stories. They can identify with stories. I'm sure you can identify with stories. If that's the case, leave a comment down below and let us know. What are some of the things that you want to hear about when it comes to different people's experiences? Because yes, Ben and I, we have a plethora of knowledge in our head. Putting it into the universe via a podcast and a YouTube channel, that's fine, but we only have so much information in our head that we're constantly trying to pull different things out of. But we have hundreds upon hundreds of people that all have different stories. They have different perspectives on sobriety, and I tell people this all the time. Each and every one of us is unique in our own situation, but we are all cut from the same cloth. So that is something that I think we will do more on, rather than
more of.
There
we go.
I said more on, you know,
I follow.
Yeah. We're going to do more of that, have more stories involved, more perspectives from clients that are newly sober and people that have multiple years of sobriety. And if you want to be on the show, just send us an email and we're glad to have you.
I've always loved that, and I still love it, where you bring somebody new on that's new in recovery, because I remind our clients, I remind people in meetings all the time when I speak, if you're sitting in this room, if you're making an attempt at recovery, you don't even need to be sober right now. You still have something to offer, and that's your experience. Your experience of being out there does something for me. If you're currently drinking and drugging and we have the opportunity to talk, there's inspiration in that for me. Watching somebody have the courage to pick up a phone, write an email, whatever the case may be, and say, hey, I need help with this thing. It reminds me of the courage that it takes, which in my opinion, getting sober took almost more courage than staying sober. I don't know, maybe give or take, you know, but it definitely does something for me on that end.
I think that's it. We do have something that you could see it right here. This neon light back here, it says mess to message. And we actually ripped this off from one of the listeners that she sent an email. And if you listen to this, please email us back, because I don't remember who you were. But in her email, she said, I love what you guys are doing. You're helping to take people's messes and turning them into their message. And I'm like, Ben, that's it. We're taking that.
Yeah, Tom had a neon light the next week.
Yeah, so I had Sketch and Etch create that nice neon light. And so that's what we're doing. We're helping you turn your mess into your message.
Amen.
All right. That is it. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Real Recovery Talk. In the end, send us an email. You can email myself, Tom, at realrecoverytalk.com, Ben at realrecoverytalk.com. You can go to realrecoverytalk.com, the website, and that'll have all of our episodes on there. But you can get a hold of us directly. It's super easy. We respond back to emails momentarily, but we will ask you for your phone number, because it's hard to have meaningful conversation via email. I personally don't like it. I would rather talk to you over the phone. And yeah, that is it. We will see y'all later.